What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tsla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to go over the longer term and shorter term time frames to show you guys how things are looking. What's happening with Jerome Powell, as he said some very important things, and also what President Trump said about his tariffs. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. Moomoo is an amazing global brokerage account that consists of many exclusive offers. If you sign up and deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 25 in total. And deposit $5,000, you're guaranteed 60 free stocks. The offer ends on June 3rd. You'll also qualify for an 8.1% APY in uninvested cash. And also, guys, you'll get free level 2 data if you keep at least $100 in the account. That's very useful for understanding market insights and what's going on with the options chains. So check out my link down below for all these benefits. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the stock market. So right now, things are very, very interesting. When you look at SPY on the monthly time frame, we're actually looking more bullish. If you look at this, we have a very bullish looking candlestick after forming this wick right here. And this imbalance actually would take us even higher, closer to 600. If you look at the weekly chart on SPY, we're still looking bullish. We haven't lost any key supports yet. We're getting bought back up, and we are still looking like we favor upside for now on the weekly time frame. If you look at like the daily, it's the same thing. We're still technically looking a bit more bullish. As long as SPY does not lose like 585, we're still favoring the upwards direction. So my point is the bulls are still stepping in. Even if we get bad news, the bulls keep coming back because they're in control right now. Why do I say that? Because we got some news from Jerome Powell. It's not the best. Jerome Powell is cautioning us because he is talking about how there could be higher long-term rates as supply shocks are providing policy changes. That's some big news because he is saying that interest rates are likely to be higher as the economy changes and the policy could be looking for new shifts. He's saying this because we may be entering a period of more frequent and potentially more persistent supply shocks. That's a difficult change for the economy and for central banks. He also mentioned that these supply shocks could be similar to what happened in the past, and this could put the Fed in a more difficult balancing act. So that's what Jerome Powell said. However, he also mentioned that they are considering changes to the way in which they see and evaluates employment shortfalls and inflationary targets. Although he didn't really talk about the tariffs in particular today, he did talk about how the Fed has to be very, very adaptive, and that despite what's going on, if there are supply shocks, they have to be prepared for that because that could really disrupt different things. So I would say that Jerome Powell is a little bit more hawkish today, just a bit more hawkish. That's why the market did initially come down. And we did talk about this in my previous video. So what happened was, let's just go and zoom into SPY just to show you guys this. We did come down a little bit compared to where we were yesterday. So like I said before, I was anticipating some kind of downside move, and SPY was right here yesterday at 588, and we actually dipped all the way down to 583. We did see a bit of a sell-off as we approached Jerome Powell's speech. The market did sell off by about 5 points, so we were correct about that. It didn't quite get to my 580 target, but we did end up dipping a bit. And then as time went on, we consolidated. I wasn't sure if we would sell off more because obviously Jerome Powell's words weren't the best, but instead the market just got bought right back up. So I gave you guys an update that as long as SPY is above 588, I was looking bullish. And once we got above this, we saw another 3 points higher. So you guys could have caught that move if you watched my video. So it just goes to show it's really hard to be a big bear in this market, at least as of right now, because first off, inflationary data is good, right? If you look at the PPI numbers that came out today, everything was aligned with expectations or below expectations. In case you guys are confused, PPI is just like CPI, except on the producer side. It's another very important producer wholesale inflationary measure. So PPI was below expectations month over month. Core was also below expectations. All items was aligned with expectations. Decent PPI numbers is why the market tried to bounce, alongside the fact that buyers are still in control. So we're seeing tariffs going down. We're seeing lots of negotiations continuing once you hear what President Trump had to say. We're seeing good inflationary numbers. Employment numbers aren't bad. The market still loves all this. And for now, we remain more elevated. Does that mean the downside is done? No, it's not. There will be another time the market gets a big rug pull, but we're not ready yet. For now, we remain more bullish. Even after Jerome Powell says something that's not the best, the market gets bought back up. So keep that in mind. Now, there was some news involving President Trump that came out. President Trump was talking about how he had a little problem with Tim Cook. He claims he had a conversation with him and that he wasn't really happy with what they're doing. He said that he wants them to basically invest more into the US and less into India. He's talking about how they're coming up with $500 billion, but they're building all over India, and he doesn't want them to build in India. He wants them to build in the USA. That's one of the things that President Trump said. He said that India is one of the highest tariff nations in the world, and that he wants to see, Tim Cook and Apple produce more in the USA. So that's what he's been saying. Build more in the US, and that's going to be very, very big, at least for us moving forward. So that's what President Trump has been trying to say, at least for the time being, that he wants to incentivize more production in the US. Then we had some more news about President Trump, who was talking about India. So he mentioned that with India, he's going to be making offers to drop tariffs on US goods, and they're continuing to negotiate, making lots of progress. As of right now, President Trump has been meeting up with lots of leaders in the Middle East, from Qatar to Saudi Arabia, and he said that the Indian government has offered a deal where they basically are willing to charge us no tariff. He claims that so far that they're negotiating and that lots of progress is being made. So we'll see if we get a deal with India. We're just going to wait for this. And then besides that, President Trump also talked about China. He mentioned that we're looking at reductions in the tariffs and that China wants to do business with the USA. President Trump is saying that China has come to the table and they're willing to roll back tariffs on US goods, and that they're going to be opening up to US businesses. They're going to be suspending trade barriers, and the negotiations are going very well. However, President Trump has made it very clear he wants a long-term deal. He doesn't just want a short-term 90-day transition deal. He wants a longer-term deal, and we're still waiting for that. So keep that in mind. President Trump is claiming that the Chinese relationship with the US is improving. That is some good news that's come out as well. So, as you could tell, much of this news is still bullish for the markets. That's part of why the market's holding up. I saw more news involving President Trump talking about Jerome Powell. He called him too late Powell again, saying that he should have cut interest rates. And he said this right before Jerome Powell was going to give a speech. So President Trump is saying he's not happy with the way Jerome Powell is doing things, and he wants to see Jerome Powell cut rates as soon as possible. President Trump also said that after we got the inflationary numbers, so we'll see how it goes. Powell has not given us the signal yet, but we'll just have to wait and see. For now, the market remains elevated despite this, so keep that in mind. Now, a couple more things. Tomorrow is going to be Friday, May 16th, 2025. In the morning, we have some very, very minor exports data. We're going to see what happens with prices for exports and imports. Then at 10 a.m., we have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment data, which could cause some volatility. So watch for that. Might cause a little bit of volatility here and there. Right now, greed is making up the majority of sentiment. Momentum is at extreme fear, but it's becoming less fearful as we go higher. And the put to call option ratio is now hitting greed, as we're seeing lots of puts being closed. And the VIX is continuing to fall as buyers are stepping in. On top of this, I want to add that we just got earnings from Alibaba and Walmart. Walmart did relatively well. They beat on lots of earnings. They also saw their guidance reiterated. However, they are threatening that they may have to increase their prices due to the tariffs. Not the best of news for Walmart. They did say that. And then Alibaba did not do too well. They missed a lot of targets. That's why we saw a slowdown in their growth. The last thing I want to say is that we have lots of option expirations tomorrow. We have a little bit over 1 million calls expiring, or almost like 1.1 million to be more precise. And we have over 2.84 plus million of these puts expiring. That's a 2.58 puts to call ratio, or 562 is our max pain overall. So with all the puts expiring, what's going to likely happen to the markets? I'm going to give you guys my assessments and my predictions so far. So like I said before, guys, the majority of these timeframes are bullish. For me to turn more bearish, I need to see SPY lose at least 585, then 582. If we lose that range, then I do anticipate some downside. But as of right now, the chart is bullish, because when you look at SPY, look at our EMAs, we're just riding them higher and higher and higher. There's no sign of us rejecting too hard yet. We're still making higher highs and higher lows. So from what I see, okay, what I'm seeing is that the chart looks bullish. Now, if you want to be bearish on SPY, just hypothetically, first you got to lose 588. This is going to be previous resistance becoming support. If 588 fails us, we're going to be looking for 585. And if that fails us, we're looking for a dip back down to 580 or below. Lose 585, and I do think we could turn more bearish, because I do think this EMA is going to kind of curl towards the 585 area. That's going to be the main support. But I believe that as of right now, we have to lose 585 to turn more bearish. If you're bullish, though, you want to see us hold 588, then we could be looking for an attempt to push for 592 to 595. That's like the more bullish case, as long as we're above 588. So Like I said before, the bigger time frames, everything is still looking bullish. There's no sign of us getting a major rejection yet. Even the daily chart on SPY is very bullish looking, and it's favoring that SPY wants to go up to this imbalance over here. If we could hold above 590, we're looking for 595 next. So I think that we're looking more bullish. So in my opinion, I think what's going to go down is this. When you look at our time frames, there's a very, very good chance that SPY is going to be doing something like this where we are going to consolidate for a bit. I do think there's going to be a lot of chop because of all the option expirations. I wouldn't be surprised if we push a bit and kind of consolidate for some time, just like how we did today. Then as time goes on tomorrow, I think we could be starting to push for higher levels towards 592 to 595. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. As long as we don't lose 588, we are still technically looking bullish. And as long as we don't have a bad catalyst, the market is still favoring upside. There's no sign of a major rejection. So as of right now, this is what we favor: some consolidation, lots of chop in the morning. But as time goes on, we might see SPY push higher because buyers just keep on defending, and we haven't been able to see bears get any sort of edge quite yet. The charts look bullish, which is why we still favor this. But in case SPY does lose 588 or 585 and we get some bad news from whatever news comes out, yes, the market could dip, but that's not looking very likely. Right now, we're favoring the upwards direction based off the chart and based off the fact that even when Jerome Powell said something negative, the market still got bought back up, which shows how strong the buyers happen to be. On top of that, when you look at the triple Q or the QQQ, what you will see is that we're continuing to get bought back up. Now, to be bearish, you want to see us basically lose 515. If we don't hold 515 tomorrow, we're looking for a move back down towards this 510 area right over here. So I'll be looking for a bigger rug pull in case we do get that rejection, in case we do end up losing 515. If we're bullish, you want to see us basically hold above 520. If we hold 520, we're looking for an attempt to push for 523 to 525 for more upside. What I think is going to happen is because of all the option expirations, I think we see a lot of chop tomorrow between 517 and 520. And then as time goes on, we might be looking for an attempt to push towards the end of the day. And we could be looking for like the low 520s, like 521 to 522 to be tested for some upside. Why do I say that? Because when you look at the daily charts, we still look quite bullish on the QQQ. We do have a tough resistance at 520, but the chart remains elevated. And the weekly, it looks pretty strong. It's favoring more upside going into next week. So we're still looking more bullish. On the IWM, we look bullish on the weekly, but there's no confirmation yet of a break. So if you're bearish on the IWM, the Russell 2000, you want to see us lose 206. If 206 fails us, I could be looking for a move down to fill this gap. If we lose the low from today, we're looking for a move back down to the lower 200s. If we're bullish, you want to see us basically hold 206. As long as that holds, we're looking for an attempt to push towards the 210s. My guts tells me that what's going to likely happen is that we consolidate with SPY and others, then we try to bounce for a 210. There's a good chance this might actually hold up. As long as we're above 206, we're actually favoring the upwards direction now because the buyers are defending at the 20 EMA, and we're getting better volume on this, so that's a good sign so far. ES is quite simple. If you want to be bearish, you want to see ES lose 58.80. If that fails us, we're looking for a dump back down to about the lower 5800s. If we're bullish, you want to see us basically hold above 5900. As long as that holds, we're looking for an attempt to push towards 5950 or above. So as long as we're above 5900, we're actually favoring upside. I just don't want to see us lose 58.80 or 58.50. I do think that it's possible we consolidate as well tomorrow with all the option expirations, but then we are favoring that we might be pushing for 59.80 to 6,000 going into the end of the day tomorrow, if not by next week, because the 4 hours is looking promising. The daily chart is looking pretty good right now. Very strong looking daily setup as of right now. There's no sign of rejection. And then on the weekly, it looks very strong on the weekly. There's no sign of rejection unless we start losing like 57.50 or so. I could change my mind. We're not close to that. We still look very strong. We need a very, very bad piece of news to dump this market. They need to use a bad piece of news like new tariffs or something really bad. We don't really have that right now. And we still look more bullish looking at this setup. Even after Jerome Powell said something hawkish, the market just dipped a tiny bit only to get bought back up. Looking at NQ, we're bullish. Now we need to lose 21,180. If we lose that, we're looking for a dump back down towards below 21,000. If we're bearish, if we're bullish, you want to see us basically break past 21,500. If that breaks, we're looking for 21,800 next. So as of right now, we're actually riding the 20 EMA higher. We're making higher highs and higher lows. And we're doing a fantastic job right now. So I do think the odds favor upside for 21,750 plus. We're still looking bullish as long as we don't lose 21,181 on NQ. For Bitcoin, we're looking bullish. We're in a range right now. We love to get bought back up around 101,000, but we also tend to reject off 105,000. We're just going back and forth, back and forth, and this move may continue to let us push to about 105,000. As of right now, Bitcoin is looking a bit more bullish, might be looking for 105,000 plus tomorrow. Now, in Tesla, we're not looking as great on Tesla because of the fact that we got this sell off. We still have that gap. We did fill it, but in order for Tesla to remain bullish, I need to see this hold at least 340. I think we're going to see some consolidation after all the upside that came. That's completely normal. So we might be retesting like 340 before it tries to rebound like this. As long as we hold 340, we could consolidate then bounce. If we don't hold 340, we're looking for 337 and 333. My prediction is that we come down to about 340, consolidate for some time, but then we could bounce later on for another leg higher. So keep that in mind. For Nvda, we're looking flat right now. We're seeing volume slowing down. We need to break and hold above 136 to push higher for 140. And if we end up losing 132, we're looking for a dip back down. I do think that we consolidate on Nvidia like this for some time. Then we'll see if we break out higher or not. So look for some chop around the 135 area. Then we'll see if we try to go higher from there to push towards 138. We'll give this some time. On Apple, we're trading sideways right now, going back and forth and back and forth. If you're bullish on Apple, you want to see us break past 214. If you lose 209, you're looking for a dip back down to 206, excuse me. So I think we're doing a good job so far at holding up. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually dip a little bit on Apple to retest 209 to 206 just a little bit before this tries to rebound and continue to go higher because we're still looking a bit more in favor of the bulls. Okay, so that's what I'm essentially seeing. We're still favoring upside. But the thing about Apple is you have to zoom out and go to the daily time frame. When you check out the daily, we're actually holding above this key support around 210. As long as we're above that on the daily, we're actually favoring the upwards direction as buyers are continuing to defend. So good job by Apple at holding up. Netflix is looking solid. It's bouncing again, looking for an attempt to get up to 1200. As of right now, the daily and the 4-hour are looking more bullish, and 1200 looks like a very, very reasonable, very possible target for the chart. So good job by Netflix for favoring 1200. So long as we don't lose 1150, we're favoring the upwards direction. Looking at MicroStrategy, we're kind of weak right here. We have to see if we could hold support at 395. If we don't hold this, I could see us dip a little bit more towards like 385, and we'll see if we bounce off that. So you want to be very careful. So watch the 395 area and see what kind of move we make from there. For Celsius, we look more bullish. So long as we don't lose 37.8, we're actually favoring 40 as a target. And if that breaks, we could be going even higher. For Supermicro, we look a little bit weak here. We did push quite a bit. We did talk about this yesterday, how I was anticipating some downside. We might be dipping a bit more. It's about 42.5 to 40 before it tries to rebound and continue to go higher. That's what we're looking for, looking at this setup as we have a nice accumulation. So look for a bit of a pullback to 42.5 to 40, and we'll see if we bounce from there or not. For Palantir, we could be dipping towards 124.8 to 125. We could be dipping like that before it tries to rebound. We need to hold 124 to bounce. If not, we could be dipping lower, but I do think we dip a bit more before we see some kind of rebound. Rivian had a flag we were talking about yesterday. As you could tell, this is trying to pan out. It's at resistance near this 15 area, could retest 15 flat. As long as we don't lose 14.6, we're still bullish. So even if it does dip a bit, it could start pushing higher again for 15.5. So the upside potential remains. On SoFi, we have a double top here, so we're watching to see what happens as we hit 13.29 or so. Then we'll see if we rebound off the low 13s to see a move back up. So we'll keep that in mind. For AMD, we could be retesting 111. I could see this dip a little bit. 111 to about 110 could be retested, and we'll see if we bounce off that. I'll watch and see if we could hold our 20 EMA, but as of right now, look for a little bit more downside by a couple of points. ARM, same thing. Might see a small decline here. Might dip towards the 130 area, and we'll see if we bounce from there. PayPal as well, it's coming down to fill the gap as you predicted yesterday, so this might be dipping towards this gap fill for 70. Then between 69.5 to 70, it should be looking for a rebound. For Coinbase, we're looking for a test right here. It has to see if we could hold 238. If that holds, we're looking for a bounce. If not, we could be dipping back down to about 230. So I do think we could be dipping to 238 to 235, and hopefully we see buyers defend to get this back up. So we're going to be watching for a little bit more downside before we see buyers defend. Amazon is barely holding support at 204. It's not looking that great to me. We have to hold 204. If not, we could see bearish momentum build up, and we could be dipping towards like the low 200s. So be careful. On Microsoft and Meta are both looking very similar. Meta might be retesting 638. We have to hold this. If not, we could be dipping all the way down towards 625. So watch 638 to the low 630s, and we'll see if we bounce off that or not. Overall, we're still looking a bit more bearish. For Microsoft, we look a little bit weaker. We could be looking for a test of 450 to 447.5, and we'll see if we bounce off this. It's actually bullish looking. We're making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, but it could be coming down temporarily to retest this EMA before it continues to bounce. No sign of a big rejection yet. Google is consolidating, so we'll see if we break above 168 to push higher. If we lose 163, we're looking for a dip here, so we'll see if we rebound to 168 plus. For DJT, we're looking a little bit weaker here. We have a slight double top here. We'll see if we break past 25.5. If not, we could be tipping all the way down towards this gap fill. I could be looking for a test of 24.2. The VIX is looking bearish. We're dumping right over here. We're going to see if we could get back above 19.3. If not, we could be tipping towards the lower 17s. For the 10-year treasury yield, we're also just kind of flat right now, not really doing a whole lot. There's an inverse head and shoulder, so it still could climb a little bit higher. That's, once again, not really affecting the market as much. The dollar is just kind of lackluster, chopping around, not really doing much as the market remains bullish. So there's lots of options expiring tomorrow, and as of right now, SPY is still looking bullish, so is ES and the others. Make sure you watch the levels I called out just in case, but just know that for now, the buyers keep on returning and they have a much larger edge in this market. So we'll see what the market does as time goes on. I thank you all so much for listening, so please enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be back with another upload as soon as tomorrow before market open. Until then, I wish you all the best, and peace out.